Alright, welcome everybody to the second episode of Tyrant Talk. I am Tyrant King, and joining me for this session is Ronan on the Sticks, 8 times out of 10 your favorite Ronan on Twitch, Tech Nasty, the lead. Then we got Drunkinn-Monkii with us as well as our guest for this session. So today we're going to be talking about God of War and Avengers Infinity War. So what do you guys want to talk about first? Which is the more heated topic for y'all?
I say let's start with God of War, because Infinity War I feel like we're going to spend a lot of time on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. That makes sense to me. Alright, so it's no secret that I haven't played any of the God of War games. I'm familiar with the lore, with God of War being based in Grecian mythology and all of that. I'm familiar with the story for all the games and everything. So I'm kind of going to need you guys to kind of walk me through it a little bit as you give me your opinion. Now that all three of you have played the game, you've played the basically all of y'all have been fans of the whole series, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
I've been there since day one.
All right, committed. So, I think one of the first questions, one of the main things that have been on my mind since I heard, since they mentioned God of War and everything, is that for this new God of War game, this takes place in Norse mythology and the pantheon of Nordic gods, and that's a departure for the series because previously it was based in the Greek pantheon. So, with that change, how have you guys felt about the game and what have you experienced? Ronan, let's start with you.
All right. Starting with me. As far as the game, it's transitioned beautifully, honestly. I know something you said is you're kind of newer to the God of War franchise. You're familiar with the lore, but you haven't necessarily played the game before. So with that, the game actually transitions very well for people who have not played the series. You're not going to feel like a whole big chunk of the game is left out. It does make a couple of references back to the original God of War, some bigger than others, but it's a very great starting point for the series for somebody who potentially may be new to it. Visuals are amazing. As far as the lore and everything, like I say, it transitions perfectly, honestly. It's, if you don't know that much about Greek mythology and you pick up the new God of War, you're not going to be quizzed on it. So as a starting point for the series, it's really good, but it does throw in those things to the old series, so everybody who has been a long-term player does kind of get that head nod going on.
Interesting. Drunkinn-Monkii, do you feel like maybe this is a bit of a reboot out of the series? Let's say Kratos has basically killed every Greek god, titan, deity that we've heard of, so it's just like, okay, who's left for him to kill? Let's go throw him at the Nordics.
Well, in the sense of creating a new journey for him, I guess you can say it's a reboot, but it's not actually a reboot. It's more of a continuation, but it's more of him leaving his old life behind, and as a Greek god in that pantheon, where he started a new life in the Scandinavian area where they call Midgard, and from him moving on from there. So it's a dark continuation, but at the same time, it's reinvigorating his character and for a new quest.
Okay, exciting. That's good to know. Now, Tech, for you, my question would be: what is your feelings coming into this? You've played the previous game, you've gone through Kratos' journey. So, starting up this new God of War, what is your connection with Kratos?
Like I said, I've been a day one fan. I couldn't wait till this came out. Like, I had the chance to go to PSX. I met the director of the game, got his autograph, and he couldn't really say too much about the game, but he was excited to play it. He's the director, and he was excited to play it. But I've been waiting on this game for a minute. Like me and Ronan, we went out and got the collector's edition. That's how hype we were for the game. But the main thing I took away from this game is the character growth of the character. Like, a lot of people always talk about Kratos being like a one trick, this angry guy always yelling and stuff. This game took that character to another level. And the growth, the process throughout the whole game is worth playing just for that. just to see how this character grows and changes up a little bit. So,
So,
I highly recommend playing this, and even going back if you haven't played the old ones and playing that.
okay. So in terms of Kratos' growth, now is this something where it kind of happens in the game, or is the growth kind of more so just as the game changes from Greek to Norse, and just you get a whole new Kratos?
Yeah. It's right from the jump. He's different from what he was in the first series. You know, yeah, he's not angry and brash and just kills people just because he needs to do something. He's a lot more rational and collective because he has a son now that he has to teach not to be this way he once was.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And
he's constantly teaching you got to be better than just to get mad quickly and act on your anger.
Yeah, because early on in the game, when you started out, like the first main, let's say, villain you meet, he's tested on that, and you can see the change in Kratos at that moment of him being tested. He's become more of a defensive guy instead of offensive. That's how he reacts to things now.
Okay, that's definitely good to know. So, not only has the pantheon and the lore and the character of Kratos has changed, but also the system for the game itself. Previous God of War games, they had more so of a third-person, top-down point of view, and now we have this new God of War where it's more so an over-the-shoulder perspective, similar to more modern shooters like Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6 and whatnot. So, how do you guys feel about the change in combat? We'll come back to you, Ronan.
Combat is amazing. I'm being completely honest with you. Combat feels good. You feel powerful. The sound is amazing. Your hits kind of have that bone crunching sound. Kratos, he doesn't have his old weapons from the previous game. You can kind of tell by the trailers he's adapted to an axe and a shield, which of course, shield is fine. He's a Spartan, so that kind of goes back to his Spartan heritage in a sense. But the combat feels really good. A lot of people were concerned with his son. His son's name is Atreus. It's just, kind of being an escort mission, just trying to get him from point A to point B. Atreus actually holds his own, and you kind of see him evolve as an archer as far as helping his dad out in the middle of combat. There's certain moves you can do where you can control Atreus as Kratos is doing stuff, so you can still land some of those crazy God of War combos, but the system's better. A lot of people from the beginning of the game, from what I've heard, had difficulty with this combat system. I would say it's a lot harder than the old God of War was. A lot more of it comes into timing, parries, things like that. I guess I wouldn't say the skill ceiling for it's high, but it's over what it was, but it's also rewarding. When you are fighting, those tougher fights or those tougher battles, and you are landing those parries, kind of comboing with Atreus, it feels good. Combat feels really good. The flow feels really good. All of it is a vast improvement on the original system.
So would you say that the combat is more technical now than what it was in the previous series, in the previous games?
I would. I honestly would.
Okay. Sounds good. So one of the things that I am familiar with throughout most of the God of War games is there's always some goddess that Kratos smashes. Goddess, deity, that's been kind of an ongoing thing. So do we get that in this new God of War as well? Does that tradition carry on, or is Kratos kind of set aside his man-hoarding ways?
Well, I don't want to ruin it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, I mean, it's a spoiler discussion, so it's perfectly fine.
That's true.
But I will say like kind of touching on what Tech was saying. The growth of Kratos is like a huge part of the narrative. Whereas, like just kind of echoing what Tech was saying. Everybody knew Kratos as mad, really angry. A lot of people saw him as a one-dimensional character, when in fact, the other God of Wars did flesh him out. But this game, you delve deeper. It's no longer just Kratos, fighting for himself or just fighting for his revenge. He has somebody to take care of now. He has somebody that's, looking up to him, who's watching who he is, what he does, and, they're going to reflect on that as they get older. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and you're dealing with a Kratos that's just lost a wife. You know, before he's had a son, he's had a wife and a daughter before, and
Right.
you know, you go back into the lore of the original stuff and find out what happened from there. But he just recently lost his wife, so he's dealing with that, and on top of that, taking care of his son and becoming a better parent. And you know, he's that's another part of his growth is learning how to be a parent. You know, because there's parts in the game where his son says, you know, you were never around. You know. And Kratos, you know, I think that had a lot to do with Kratos, you know, not knowing how to be a father. So, you know, he constantly goes off and hunts and does his thing, and then comes back home.
So we have a grieving Kratos, and, you know, he's going through this self-exploration, trying to figure out what it means to be a father, and kind of his life has been repurposed to, you know, to that he has something he values greater than himself.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. That definitely adds a lot more life to the character of Kratos than what I've seen. Like I said, I'm familiar with the lore, what he was fighting for, what he went through in his war against the Greek gods and everything. But I think I like the sound of this one a little bit more, to where Kratos actually has a purpose, where, you know, it's more rewarding than just going off and killing everybody. You kill everybody, then what are you left with? But, you know, here it sounds like Kratos is on this journey of self-discovery and, you know, kind of trying to set an example for his son and be that example.
I think it's worth touching on too, as like, you know, as a parent, we know that Kratos had a daughter, and you know, men can tend to be a lot different when they're with their daughters versus when they're with their sons. You know, so you know, the way he handles Atreus evolves as the game kind of goes on. So, you know, like with him still being a parent, you can still be a parent, and like, you know, you treat your daughter one way, but then when it's your son, you know, that's your son. Like, he's gonna be, you know, a representation of you as he gets older, kind of thing. So I thought that was really interesting to touch on, but that's all I want to say about it.
Okay, that makes sense. It sounds like that idea of, you know, when you got a son, you raise him to be tough, that tough love, you know, I'm gonna make a man out of you. Then with your daughter, that's daddy's princess, so she gets spoiled, she gets everything she wants. So I could see that. Tech, I was spying one of your streams. I didn't get to see this whole thing, but something that had me very excited was that it was Kratos and his son in the boat along this river, lake. I'm not sure what it was, but I saw the world serpent, Drunkinn-Monkii. So
Right. And you'll see him throughout the game. His presence is always there in the game, but you'll have moments in the game where, you know, you have to interact with him. And like, to me, that is some of the coolest parts in the game. Like, especially if you have a good sound system, or even, you know, the headsets or whatever, turn that shit up to max just to hear this motherfucker talk. So it's totally worth it. I'm telling you, just for that part alone, just hearing them talk.
So do you battle the world serpent?
No, he's more so of an ally in this game. But you'll get throughout the game, you get the history of, you know, the world serpent and other like Thor and stuff, and battles that went on in the past. You'll get all that in the game.
Okay, so in regular Norse mythology, the world serpent Drunkinn-Monkii, I can't never get the name right, so I'm just calling him Drunkinn-Monkii. Drunkinn-Monkii was there we go. Say that again.
Jormungandr.
Jormungandr. That sounds much better. Yeah, I butchered that shit. So in normal Norse mythology, whatever CJ said, Jormund, the world serpent, is one of the three children of Loki, the god of mischief, and the giantess Angerboda. So, in revealing in your interactions as Kratos with the world serpent, does it kind of flesh into that?
Yeah, but don't want to spoil nothing for anybody.
This is a spoiler review. This is a spoiler discussion, so it's perfectly fine.
I mean, it's a spoiler discussion, but you haven't played it, Tyrant. Like, some of the stuff you have to experience, bro. That's what it makes it hard, man.
Like I say, it's fine.
So I I agree. Some of the, I can give some of the spoilers, but some of the stuff I would like you to experience yourself. Honestly.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, I'm probably not gonna play the game until like mid-May, so I'm a ways out, and the spoilers are gonna be anywhere. It's not like I'm dodging them, but I'm still excited to talk about it, to learn about it, and that kind of builds up my own anticipation for experiencing the game, because this will be my first time committing to a God of War entry. So I can understand wanting to spare the spoilers, but at the same time, I'm not too hard pressed to kind of dodge them. Because I figure, the experience is going to be the experience.
God of War is an experience, man. That's why, like, even me, CJ, Tech, it's an experience. Like, you have to experience. And I understand it's a spoiler stream. I get it. It's an experience. The game is an experience. Yeah. And it's like I can tell you the stuff, but it won't hit you as hard. And I feel like as the game, as beautiful as it is, as great as the writing and narrative and storytelling is, it has to be experienced. Like I don't know, man.
It's really like, besides the storytelling, it's like a movie. You're really playing a movie.
Yeah, because the way they made it, that over the shoulder view is made to be like one take, one continuous take.
Yeah, the camera never really cuts. It moves along with everything. It moves everything. From cutscene to battle, everything is on this one camera.
Okay, so the story in the world is very immersive then. So, you're really taken in by everything, what you go through, the journey, the experience, the feelings of Kratos and his son.
Yeah. It's one of those games where you will not want to get off of it. And I haven't had that feeling, honestly, in a long time. Where it's like you're playing the game and you're like, fuck, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I need to get off of this and go to sleep. But you're just so immersed in it. And there's so much to do and, upgrades. And so it's an experience. That's all I can really say.
There's definitely a lot to do, because unlike the previous games where it's just like a linear storyline, you go from point A to point B to achieve your goal. Once you get to a certain point, you can explore around just like an RPG.
Right.
And then there's certain enemies that you're going to need to be a certain level before you tackle them. Because otherwise, you're going to have a hard time. It's going to be a rude awakening.
Okay, on this subject of enemies, how do boss battles in the new God of War hold up to boss battles in the previous God of War entries? Because, like I said, I haven't played all of them, I haven't completed any games, but I did play the first God of War, and I did the Hydra battle on the boat. That was probably like a demo or something. But the battle against the Hydra was pretty fucking dope. So, and from what I've seen...
Yeah, the first battle of this game is going to blow you away.
I
was not prepared for it, and when it happened, I was like, this is fucking happening. Like, holy shit. Like, it sets the tone.
Yeah, it sets the tone big time.
It's one of the best boss battles of recent.
Okay, so not only do we get a graphical overhaul, we get a new reforged, repurposed Kratos, but you just feel like even the boss battles, the narrative has been overhauled now. Were there any boss battles where you kind of connected to the bosses that you were fighting?
It's the first boss you meet at the beginning of the game. That's basically that one character, that villain in the game that you're going to be connected with throughout. And he sets the tone at the beginning of the game, like, this is what you're going to have to deal with throughout this shit. Get ready.
Basically, he's like, all right, you think you're special, but we do this shit every day.
but that character throughout the game as it goes along, because at first, like, okay, he's a little badass or whatever, but they start fleshing out that villain a little bit more as the game goes along, all the way to the end, so you beat it.
Yeah, you start to understand why he is the way he is.
Okay, sounds exciting. So, is there an explanation given in the game how Kratos shifts over from Greek mythology to Norse mythology?
Nothing other than the notion that they, that they give you that he left his homeland of Sparta to lead that life and somehow ended up in Midgard. That's all the notion they give you.
They don't give you too much of it, and I guess that's probably because they're more than likely going to carry this story on for the next couple of games, so they're going to probably flesh more of that out as it goes along.
Okay, so as God of War veterans, how did you guys feel switching to pantheons? Like, I understand Kratos killed all the Greek gods, so there was no more gods, no more titans, no more deities. But throughout so many games, you were immersed in that world, in that Grecian lore. So how did it feel switching over to a Nordic side?
I enjoyed it. I've always been a big fan of Greek mythology. So of course, the first God of Wars, the first three at least, and like a couple for PSP. It was a world I knew. It's nice seeing the stories you read about Zeus, Poseidon. Seeing them on the game, and you're playing them and you're killing them X Y Z. Admittedly, I don't know much about Norse mythology, so it did make me want to brush up on some stuff I didn't know about. Some gods I may not have heard of. There are plenty of God references thrown around. You do hear, Odin's name thrown around. You hear Thor's name thrown around. So it kind of builds the hype for those characters. Honestly, it's a new playground experience, man. I felt any game that you off of the game you want to go and do research on certain things is a game that's done its job.
Yeah. For me, it was pretty easy to move from Greek to Norse mythology. I'm a bit more into Norse mythology than Greek, but I've been into both, and it was a good experience. Pretty cool to see the nods to any of his Greek past, and to go through some of the lore and story, and hear them talk about certain Norse stories and Norse characters in their pantheon.
And one good thing I thought they did in this game was throughout the game, even after you finish the game, they constantly educating you on the stories. Like it's like a ton of stories for them to tell. They have characters in the game, like it's a character you'll meet later in the game, and he basically throughout your time, like on a boat or wherever, just walking around, they're constantly giving you information about this history of what's going on with these guys and these giants and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, most of your story time where they're telling the story is going to be on boats. So if you want to hear a good story, or you want to hear some of the lore, expect to be on the boat quite a bit.
That paints an interesting picture in my mind. Just I'm on a boat, I'm paddling along a river, and I got some guy just telling me this deep story, filling me in on the wonders of the world.
But you know what it's kind of like? Like you playing like the old game GTA, whatever, and usually to pass that time to go from point A to B, you usually have music in the game and stuff.
Yep.
This is kind of the music of the game. They're teaching you.
Okay, that definitely sounds exciting, and I like the way that Ronan put it, in the sense that if playing the game makes you want to research the elements, the characters, the world that's being portrayed, then they did a very good job. Interesting. So
one thing I took away, I was playing yesterday, and as I was going through, I beat the story, but as I'm still going through, I'm still hearing more stories. But there's also like a couple of nods to what may appear into the next game, which I thought was dope.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we got teasers just to what to expect next.
Right, little stories that'll probably tease what could come up next.
Okay, so how did you said his name was Atreus, right? Kratos' son? Atreus, okay. How do you guys feel with him holding up? With this being his debut to the series, with him being the son of a pop culture character like Kratos, who everybody knows who he is, whether you play the game or not, whether you're a fan of the series, you're not going to find too many people who don't know who Kratos is and what Kratos does. So how do you guys feel his son held up entering the series?
The best way to say it to me, Atreus starts the game very eager to please. Just I just want to be a help. I don't want to be a hindrance to you. I just want to help. Let me know what I can do to help, kind of thing. And as the game goes, and you can tell in the interactions with Kratos and Atreus as the game goes on. After you finish battles, Atreus will say, "How did I do?" And Kratos will be like, "You lack focus. You're not paying attention. Make sure you're doing this. Draw your bow all the way back." And as you're like, the more battles you get into, and as the game goes on, Kratos will actually say, "You're getting better. You're concentrating more." And it's kind of like those nods is like he's acknowledging his growth. Towards the end of the game, it's one of my favorite parts in the game. I'm not going to ruin it, but Atreus has a big kind of character arc, and the tone shifts again, and it's like, whoa, where did that come from? But
this the crazy part though. Like I'm touching on what you was talking about with the growth in his combat skills. Like just not only you tell him, "Oh, you're doing a good job," you can actually see it in battle. Him putting in that work, because you can go off and fight another character on your own without triggering the button for him to shoot. He'll handle himself after a while, like no problems. Like he'll take out an enemy by himself.
Yeah, because in the beginning, there's a couple of times you may have to go save Atreus from getting yoked up, but as the game goes on, you might start forgetting about him because he's just fine by his own by the end of the game.
Okay, so you guys think that he holds up pretty well, that he's a likable character. You get to witness his growth alongside Kratos. So do you see him as possibly, being the future for the series?
I would like that. The end of the game hints towards something bigger for him.
Mm-hmm.
So if they I know they say it's not technically a reboot, but if they do decide to go into a sequel, I feel like it's going to be handled really well. I would love to see what older traders can get done, with the teachings that he learned from the first game. Not saying, I'm ready for the candle to pass or, for the torch to pass. Not quite yet, but I can see the growth coming. I can definitely see it happening.
Okay, so this old Kratos still got one more round of genocide left in him, huh?
He got a couple more, but
But also his mother, like as you go through this game, you really don't know much about his mother. But as you progress through the game, you start finding out more about his mother and how important she is. So she wasn't no pushover herself. So that also goes into the story of the growth of him and like what he can become. Because his mother was a badass. So.
Okay. So that surprises me to hear that, there's no DLC for God of War, considering, from what it sounds like, there's plenty to the game, and it also sounds like there's plenty more to come. So I'm pretty surprised that, we're not being teased with DLC for, just to buy at the time, something to chew on. So let's say there is another God of War on the way. Now, do you guys feel like this current God of War entry is enough to hold you over until we get the next full-fledged sequel?
I would say not really for me because, even though it felt like a full, complete game to me, the way that game progressed and the way it ended just left you wanting more. Or at least for me,
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right. I definitely. And they have like more. They have side quests. They have optional boss fights where you can go and fight harder enemies and things like that. So they do give you things to do. But when the game is that good and it's really that chock full of content, like you said, it's like give me more. I'm ready for the next one. Let's keep going. I want to keep the momentum going. They do offer harder difficulties, which I have heard a lot of people are struggling with right now. But it's enough of a journey where I would consider doing a new game plus. Definitely a new game plus, potentially closer to the new game dropping. It's absolutely. I'm absolutely with it.
Okay, so how do you feel about the replayability after having gone through it? What's your excitement to tackle this game on a harder difficulty and just run through it one more time?
The combat alone to me wants me to come back every time. This is combat, bro.
Okay.
Like I love fighting in this game, and like I said, if you put the time into learning, the different moves he has and unlocking different moves, or just level them up, it's so much fun just fighting in this game. And they give you stuff in the game where you can test your combat skills.
Yeah, yeah, like they got different challenges in another realm where you can actually see how you hold up, and then part of those challenges will basically let you know if you really could tackle some of those optional bosses or not.
Okay.
And you get rewarded for it. Like those optional bosses, like the tougher enemies, you get rewarded for it. It's not for nothing. You actually get rewarded.
They don't give you just some little small trinket that only gives you a slight boost. No, they reward you well.
So, there's incentive then to keep playing the game once you complete the story, and even consider doing a new game plus and doing it on greater difficulties then.
Yeah, the new game plus if they add it, because as of right now they don't have one.
Ah, okay. I thought it was already a feature.
Yeah, I heard they was putting in there, and also along with the photo mode, so people can take cool little camera shots.
Okay, sounds like they're taking the Horizon Zero Dawn approach then. Adding on these other features post release. Okay.
And usually with games, we have games like this that looks this good. Usually they go straight for that photo mode. They're like, yeah, we got to put this in here because this game looks that good.
I've seen it from what I've seen on stream as well as trailers and screenshots. The game does look absolutely gorgeous. So CJ, I know that you have the platinum trophy in the game. So how many hours in are you to have achieved the platinum trophy?
Hours, I can't exactly say how many hours, but I can tell you, last weekend I just turned off my phone, so nobody has bothered me. And only thing I did last weekend other than play God of War was sleep and eat. Then,
That's a committed man right there.
The grind.
Yeah. But throughout the week, probably after the work in the gym, play a couple hours, and then I got my platinum sometime Saturday morning. So, just over a week.
Wow, you was definitely burning the midnight oil. So, what motivated you to get the plat? Was it that this game is so good that it's just like you kept playing it, you were enjoying everything that you were doing, and then just there you are at the platinum trophy before you know it? Or was it more so just you're a trophy hunter and you have that completionist? So is it like motivation for the game, or was it the motivation of just of being the completionist?
It's a little bit of both because as far as trophy hunting, I'm picky on my trophy hunting, And last weekend, I did most of my exploring last weekend. And by the time Sunday was getting ready to come up, looked at my trophies. I already had I already had more than half. So I was like, you know what, I can platinum this. I can platinum. So decided to go ahead and start tackling some of those challenges and whatnot. Tried out some of them optional bosses. See how I fared against them. Learning some of the moves. One of the moves that you learn early on that will help you out is that shield parry. The shield parry and the guard break with the shield.
Because I remember me and Ronan talking about it before the game came out. Well, like we knew we were gonna love this game because we got a war fan. So right off the bat, we knew we were going for the platinum for this game. But actually playing this, it makes me want to get that platinum. It's just fun. Like the whole, like me, I'm grinding for it now. It's just like the whole journey getting to it is fun. And a lot of games I don't get that from. That's why I don't really too much grind for the platinum, because I have to really, really enjoy what I'm doing in order to get there. And this game is providing. It's just fun all the way through, just trying to get there.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, from each of you, what was your favorite boss battle in the game? What stood out to you the most?
There's
a lot of thinking going on here.
There's a lot of good boss battles. Honestly, I want to say the most visually appealing being as vague as possible, the most visually appealing, Kratos fights the dragon. And when I tell you that fight is fucking gorgeous,
Boy.
like it's beautiful to look at. It's a beautiful boss fight.
That
And
or fighting on top of a dragon.
yes, yes.
The boss battle for me was the first one, and the first one for me because it set the tone and how hype I was like, holy shit, is this a video game? Like, am I really playing the game? So it set the tone, and that's why that's my favorite.
I actually have my entire playthrough of God of War on YouTube. So of course I streamed it. A lot of people watch that first video just kind of get like a feel for the game, and I had people texting me that first boss battle was crazy. Like, and you can, and like I said, since I live streamed it, so what you see me doing is my initial reaction to it. And when I tell you, like, my mouth is dropped the entire first boss fight, like I was completely blown away, completely, and you can see it.
Right, and actually I streamed too. I had streamed a little bit before Rona that day, but I actually, because of how great that boss battle was, I went back and watched this video to see his reaction, to see how it was compared to mine or somebody else's, because it was just that dope. I was like, I have to see somebody else's reaction to this, because this shit was wild.
That's pretty funny. Where the first thing you do is when you experience something, your first thought is you enjoy it so much, and you're just wondering how somebody else would react to it. What was their impression for it, and kind of feel that satisfaction that you both were thrilled for the same thing, and see how they got through it as well. Okay,
like
so
watching Rona get hype on video got me hyped again. Like, so
watching Ronan get hype on any stream or video is just hilarious. It's gonna get anybody watching hype. The chat's gonna be hype. The comments gonna be hype.
I mean, it's that energy, and I don't want to make this comparison lightly, but akin to, I guess you would say, Dark Souls, akin to when you and I know you're a big Dark Souls head, you know what I'm saying? I know you plat on all the Dark Souls, plat on Bloodborne. But when you do fight that harder boss, or like that funner boss, you're like, I want to see one of my friends do it. I want to see how they did it. I want to see if they did something I didn't do. I kind of, you want to see like their thought process going into it. So it's fun. It's fun watching things. I've watched a couple of optional boss fights. I haven't watched a lot of them because there's some I haven't done before, and I want the genuine kind of reaction. I don't want to be prepared for it. If it's going, if it's gonna punch me in the face, let it punch me in the face. Let me learn. But yeah, that it's amazing. It's amazing. Tyrant, when you play God of War, I highly recommend streaming. I will definitely watch. I'll stop what I'm doing to watch.
This definitely something to consider, because like I said, it's going to be a big deal for me with this being my first adventure into the franchise. So it'll definitely probably be streamed. So that's just something to look forward to. So overall, let's say, what would you guys rate this game on the scale of 1 to 10? How would you rate this new God of War?
11.
All right. Scale's already broken. What about you, CJ?
Yeah, I give it a perfect score.
Okay, so 10 out of 10. Where are you landing at, Tech?
same, perfect, 10 out of 10.
Wow. So do you guys see this as a potential Game of the Year candidate?
Oh, absolutely. This is to me, since this new console era, whatever's out, this has set the bar.
Yeah.
This is the bar. It set it.
Yeah. It already set the bar for AAA games, any big game coming out from this year and forward. This is like the new standard there.
Okay, that's pretty exciting, because I feel like last year, the game that was the standard that kind of carried that torch was Horizon Zero Dawn. So in comparison to something like that, where they're two completely different games, but all of us have played that. So how do you feel like God of War stands if you were to put it alongside a game like Horizon Zero Dawn that had a lot of content, that, gave you an entire world to explore, a character to fall in love with. How do you feel like God of War holds up?
It smashes it. Like, to me, and I love Horizon. Don't get me wrong, but just everything about God of War smashes it to me completely.
So
Like and you can tell they took elements from different games and stuff, but they made everything their damn own. They put all that shit together and just made something incredible. So it's like I said, it just set the bar from now on. So like something has to beat that God of War.
Okay. I don't hear that a lot. The most I've really heard in terms of something like that would be like The Last of Us, then Horizon Zero Dawn. So it sounds like God of War is kind of walking in a very rare air right now.
A lot of people have put this game after they finished it on their favorite game of all time. A lot of people have said that.
That's pretty promising right there. Okay, so we'll wrap this up with for anybody who's new to the franchise or veterans returning for this new God of War, what kind of advice could you impart?
Go buy it immediately.
Here, take my money.
Listen, if you're a fan of the Kratos, if you're a fan of the God of War series, the new game, there's nothing not to like about it. Honestly, there's nothing not to like. You get more depth of your character. You get the growth of your character. The game world is huge. It's gorgeous. If you have a PS4, you have a PS4 Pro, and 4K visual feast. You will drool at the mouth at how beautiful this game is.
I agree, and I just got a 4K TV, and I can say like it was already beautiful, just like on the Pro alone, on a regular standard HD TV by itself. Got the 4K, it bumped it up a notch. Like it was beautiful.
Yeah, and even if you just want a good story to go through or a good game, it's a definite pickup. You gotta pick it up. You'll be doing yourself a disservice if you ignore this game.
Okay, well,
actually, it was somebody. It was somebody on Twitter yesterday. They was like, "I just got a PS4. What's the first game I should get? God of War. That was it. That's God of War. Let's get it."
Whole comments, whole mentions just blew up. Everybody's just like God of War. Okay, you guys definitely paint a very good picture of what to look forward to, what to expect from this new God of War. So for somebody who's blind to the franchise, I'm definitely excited to take my first steps forward into it, and I'm hoping the idea is that I'm going to enjoy this new one so much, I'll kind of be motivated to go back and play the older ones, because I do have God of War 1 and 2 on my Vita. I could probably get 3 on my PS3. Wait, I'm not sure what the order, because I know there's 1, 2, there's Ascension, there was a couple on the PSP that I'm not going to touch, because no, I need my trophies.
Well, 3 dropped on the 4, I believe, like the remaster.
Yeah, you can do remaster on 4.
Okay.
Actually, Tyrant, you have access to it.
Ah, good to know. So, my hope is that, I'm going to play this new God of War in May. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to love it. And I'll kind of have that motivation to go back. And then I'll play 1, 2, and 3. And, kind of be caught up with you guys on the history of Kratos. That way, for the next God of War, maybe I'll be the one, rushing to the store to buy it on a midnight sale. And then, we can kind of all discuss this on equal ground. So thank you very much for joining me for the God of War review, and hopefully our listeners have a lot to take away from it. And seeing as we've somehow dodged spoilers, even though that wasn't the intention, hopefully those hopefully curious minds were still settled, and just listening to you guys talk about the game and explain everything, take us through pieces of your journey. Hopefully they're motivated to play the game, they're motivated to go out and buy it, because I definitely know that I am.